When it comes to most modern multiplayer video games, many if not all of them are shipped with live service models in order to keep users playing until the game, well, inevitably dies. And while most of these games can be quite greedy with their prices, this new content and other additions are usually enough to keep said game relevant for at least a good year. There is a problem with this though. After all, people are a fickle bunch, and unrealistic expectations can be set on developers. So let's take a look at Call of Duty. Despite being relevant as a staple FPS shooter for many years, COD is often met with backlash with every decision they make. They want to try something new? Boom! Backlash. They try to return to their roots? Boom! Backlash. With such a big community, it's easy to see why Call of Duty gets pulled around in so many different directions with all these polarizing opinions. That's not to say that the developers themselves aren't part of the issue either, but I mean, come on. But now let's take a look at another game. Unlike Call of Duty, whenever the name Fortnite pops up, it's usually about something positive. I mean, between all the crazy crossovers and the somewhat fun gameplay, it's not hard to see why Fortnite is still being talked about. Wait, what do you mean this was made in Fortnite? Enter Fortnite Creative. 2. If you aren't up to date, Fortnite recently revamped its creative tools for the Unreal Engine, meaning stuff like this, and this, is now possible if you put your mind to it. Along with more controls added to the editor, Fortnite might as well just be called Roblox 2 with all this new stuff.
Phenomenal.
The point I'm trying to make here is that the developers of Fortnite encourage players to make the game they want to play. Hell, I'm pretty sure somebody already made the original Fortnite map. After all, games aren't just shaped by the developers. There is a reason why Q&A testing exists, you know. It's just whether or not the developers want to take community feedback and actually listen to what's being said. Back then, I don't think anybody could have anticipated that Apex Legends would become a top contender for the Battle Royale genre. Hell, it's still kicking 4 years down the line, and while I definitely don't play it as much as I used to, it's still my favorite Battle Royale game of all time. But here's the thing, Apex doesn't really have too many different ways to play it. Arenas was an interesting theory and concept, but it ultimately flopped as people stopped playing it, and Respawn stopped updating it. The addition of the mixtape mode, however, was pretty good until you start playing it for a bit, and then it starts to feel like every mode is just a glorified deathmatch. With no stats and barely any badges to keep track of, Mixtape is usually relegated to being a warm-up mode before hopping into Battle Royale, or a place to grind out challenges. But to be honest, I'm sort of okay with that. The problem though is the map selection. It goes without saying that an FPS game is only as good as its maps. So why is it that there are only seemingly 3 maps for each mode? And yes, I understand that these maps are in rotation, but the mode is literally comprised of past LTMs. The least you could do is introduce new maps so we don't have to play the same experience over and over again. This also applies to the Battle Royale mode since, once again, the rotation is limited to 3 maps. Personally, I would just allow every map to be in rotation, but I'm sure the developers have a good reason for this. Hopefully. It does suck though when you don't know the next time your favorite map will be in rotation as you wait between update and update, hoping that it'll be part of the map pool once more. Again, as a 4-year-old player, this probably only really affects me and a few others, but I'm sure new players won't have a problem with this. It's really a shame though, because I'm sure the reason why me and so many others have kept playing this game is because, well, the core gameplay is just that good. Oh, the resin. Oh, the freaking she had a gold. Oh, I fucking stormtrooper aim! What the fuck? No! The core gameplay is just that good. I mean, what did you expect? These guys are the same people behind the Titanfall series, so you know that's gonna feel smooth.
Dirty fireworks.
But with slow updates, cheater problems, and a whole other myriad of issues, it seems like Apex is eventually going to starve itself.
Heavy machine gun.
Enter R5 Reloaded. R5 is a community-run mod that lets you play an older and modded version of Apex. On R5, you can create your own lobbies, make your own maps, and there's also a dedicated server browser. Despite being limited to the Season 3 version of Apex, that hasn't stopped the community from making new modes and custom maps. Like, seriously, the stuff that they come up with is pretty insane.
Hey guys. The rest of the audio got corrupted, so here I am. Anyways, basically what Reach is trying to say here is that Apex should have more custom tools to allow for a more creative environment. Having a workshop would help combat the dry spells between content updates and would probably also help keep player retention. So basically, it's a win-win situation for everybody.
For as long as it's been around, I'm genuinely surprised Call of Duty hasn't invested in a dedicated map editor. I mean, sure, some versions of it have existed, but they were usually complicated and only limited to PC. I think the closest we ever got to having custom content was, well, custom emblems. But we all know how that turned out. So Modern Warfare 2 was rumored to have a map editor, but almost an entire year later, and we haven't heard anything since. So hopefully I get proven wrong later down the line, but it seems like we ain't getting it. It's nice to note that the idea was considered, but why the hell didn't they go through with it? It seems like such a huge opportunity to be missed out on, but I'm sure crunch time and other factors probably had something to do with it. If they did implement this feature, along with the ability to edit some script, I'm sure that most of the outrage between the try something new crowd and the go back to your roots crowd would be quelled. If I had the ability to, I would try to make something like Portal from Battlefield 2042, where I would just pull some assets from the previous games and just try to jam it all together. Like, imagine playing Newtown, but everybody has movement from Advanced Warfare with kill streaks from the OG Modern Warfare 2. Now that sounds like fun. For those already familiar with Overwatch 2, you may be thinking, "Hey stupid, Overwatch already had a workshop." And yeah, you're right. There's one itsy bitsy problem though. It sucks. Unlike Fortnite, Overwatch has literally zero mapping tools. That's not to say it hasn't stopped people from being creative, but with the system Overwatch currently has in place, creativity has its limits. Now, don't get me wrong, Overwatch has a pretty decent selection of maps, but if you're going to allow players to alter the game to their liking, you might as well go the full 100% and let them make their own maps too. Then again, it seems like they can barely moderate these lobbies, much less themselves, so maybe it's for the best. Straying from the FPS genre, we've got Elden Ring as my next choice. Now, out of all games, why did I choose Elden Ring? Well, besides the fact that I'm looking for another reason to play this game after doing a 100% run of it, I believe that the setting of Elden Ring itself could prove for some interesting maps and gameplay elements. More specifically, I'm talking about the PvP arenas that are scattered in the lands between. While there are some settings you can toggle on and off before searching for a match, some are tied to the different coliseums that are located around the map. Meaning that if you don't travel to a certain coliseum on a specific part of the map, then boo-hoo, you can't play that mode. And while the coliseums themselves have a really cool aesthetic, there's really nothing dynamic about them. There are no hazards or obstacles to hinder your performance, nor is there anything like high ground to boost your performance. And with how frustrating a game like Elden Ring can be, I'm surprised there isn't anything like this at all. Imagine if you could make your own arena set in a poison swamp where you and another person would duke it out fists only to see who would succumb to the other first. So I'm sure Miyazaki would love that. And who said that it only had to be PvP? With PvE being the main focus of the game, why don't we build on that? Make a mode similar to Frontier Defense from Titanfall and MVM from Team Fortress 2, where you fight off waves of enemies and bosses, and during each wave you can buy new equipment, talismans, and spirit summons to aid you in battle. Oh, and remember the Mimic Veil? Boom, easy prop hunt. Now, I know that id Software probably wouldn't need a workshop to implement these ideas, but I love them all nonetheless. Well, for starters, let's start with what you can actually do in terms of player-created content. At a certain point in the game, you can unlock what is known as the Serenity Teapot. Basically, this allows you to play a mini version of The Sims without the need to actually take care of the people you put inside. And using the teapot is entirely optional, although it doesn't hurt to invest in it as it rewards you with items that can be used outside the teapot. With the tools provided, some players have managed to showcase some pretty insane builds. And that's not all. Within the teapot, there are certain items that can even allow you to make your own minigames. And speaking of minigames, did you know that Genshin is also a rhythm and a TCG game rolled into one? When the rhythm event rolls around, alongside the official beat map that goes along with the song, Genshin gives you the option to make your own beat map and to also paste in codes that allow you to view other players' beat maps as well. And while I forgot its name, at one point there was an event where you can make your own little obstacle course you could share with others. Okay, so clearly Genshin isn't afraid of players taking the wheel sometimes, but the problem is that some of this content is, well, event exclusive, meaning it can take weeks, maybe even months, for old events to come back and enjoy. My solution? Make a dedicated tab for a workshop/editor where it'll compile all these old events together, and it'll be a place where people can share and create their different experiences. In terms of the co-op experience, there's not that much variation between doing the occasional domain run together or pilfering each other's resources. So honestly, I can only really see positives from a workshop being implemented. So yeah, if you couldn't tell already, I'm a pretty big advocate for player-created content. Good workshop tools allow anybody to dip their toes into the waters of game development and allow for the common folk to create content that can be considered on par with the developers. Now, am I saying that this is necessary or easy to do? No, not really, because at the end of the day, we're just consumers that are at the mercy of the developers. I can only imagine how hard it is to script a level creator of any kind because I'm already at my breaking point writing up this script. Then again, when a game is generating over $2 billion and is laying off its employees for seemingly no reason, you have to wonder, what are they doing?